So, before the newest version of Empyrean comes in and probably wipes my save game, wanted to show you guys something that I've been doing recently, an old tactic revisited, the underground base, how well it works, and what some of the limitations are. Let's jump in here and take a look. So, here we are in my underground base. And if you know much about Empyrean, you may recognize this area. This used to be a burial chamber before I took it over. You can see I've got, some storage, constructor, destructor, a greenhouse over here, all the necessities of life. In addition, over here in this little area, I put my solar capacitor. Didn't really matter, but I just thought this was relatively protected, that the drones that were raining rockets on me would have to go through a lot of material to get to it. And over here, we have a teleporter, which I'll get to in due course. So first, though, I need to show you what I did to basically make this base secure from attack by troops. That's it right there. I just put actually 2 by 2, that's actually 2 blocks tall and 2 blocks deep of concrete blocks, so troops can come into the top part of the POI in here. But once they get to here, they'd have to punch through 2 concrete blocks at a minimum to get in here. And I have actually tried this. There are actually troops up there. It's a GM again. We'll get just underneath the surface of the dirt here. I don't know if you can see that guy out there by the crosshair. So here's a guy at troop transport dropped off. And over there's a couple more guys that troop transport's dropped off. They cannot figure out how to get in, and so they just kind of walk around randomly on the desert sands, doing nothing. Which is perfectly fine by me. The other thing that you can probably see from here is that I put some solar panels up on top of the little bit of above-ground surface structure in this burial chamber. To my surprise, this was something that I don't know if it's going to be repeatable, the drones do not seem interested in shooting at solar panels. I actually had like a hangar door right there, and the drones love to shoot at the hangar door. They would destroy the hangar door over and over again. But they never seemed to want to shoot at the solar panels. In fact, once that hangar door was destroyed, they started switching to sort of sitting over there by those trees and sort of shooting down at the ventilator in my greenhouse down there. Which is really bizarre. I don't understand why the ventilator is, like, top priority for them. But anyway, it doesn't matter what they shoot at down here, because there's so much earth and rock in between the surface and everything else down here that they can shoot rockets all day long and it's not going to make any difference. This base has survived many different drone attacks, I think at least 4 or maybe 5 by now. So in terms of being secure and being unable to be affected by either drone attacks or troop attacks, it seems to work pretty well. Now, at this point, you're probably thinking to yourself, okay, well, you've entombed yourself, Salty. You've sealed yourself in here. That's great that you have all this stuff, but how the hell do you get out? I mean, you could sit inside here all day long, but you're not going to get the resources or other things that you need to advance the game or build a ship or anything like that. You're absolutely right, and that's actually why, if you remember earlier, I showed you this teleporter. I do want to disclaim, you do have to be level 15 and have an advanced constructor to build your own teleporter. So as a very early game base before level 15, this isn't such a great idea, because there's only going to be maybe 1 day out of every 6 that you're able to actually get up and out, pull the blocks out, and go out and do things. But once you can afford the neodymium for the advanced constructor and this teleporter, then you just put the teleporter down in here, and of course you can see I have a motion sensor. So when I step on this, it starts to turn on and burn fuel, but when I'm not stepping on it, it's not burning fuel, so my fuel isn't going down very fast. So let's just go and I'll show you that we can just teleport to the nearest Polaris trade station, which is the same one on this planet. So yeah, once you reach level 15, once you can put a teleporter in your sealed underground base, then you can just use this Polaris trade station as your location for getting in and out of your base. It's like your front door, basically. And if we wander over here, you can see my starter SV, my cargo SV, which is Hare's Toriuso. This is the Polaris Scout. And over here we have a little HV that I'll talk about in just a second. But what you need to know, basically, is that you can essentially use this Polaris trading station, which is here on the map, as opposed to my home base, which is here, and covered in drones and troops. I can just teleport to the Polaris trade station, park my ships here, they'll be safe here, and, you know, essentially do almost whatever I want. And so in this way, I think this is a very good option once you hit level 15 of being able to keep your base underground anywhere on the planet you want and just teleport to and from the trade station and park your cars here and have this be your front door / parking lot. But if you're quick, you've probably already figured out what the problem with this is, which is, okay, so you can live in the underground base, you can teleport to and from here, even if there are drones and troops all over your base, because it's sealed, they can't get in. But how do you get cargo into your base? Do you have to carry everything in your inventory? Like, can you only carry, 600 SU and however much weight that is into your base? Nope, there's a solution for that too, and let me show you. I don't know if you see that marker on the map that says cargo drop. This is the second part of having a sealed underground base. You have to have a way to get cargo in and out of it. Probably going to find a few drones on the resource deposits over here. Really? I swear there were some drones over here. Aha! Yeah, I thought so. So you can see over there on the left is my base, and then about 300 meters away from there, there's a perpetually confused troop transport right here. The troop transport dropped off troops, and then when those troops couldn't figure out how to get into my base, the troop transport just kind of hangs here, perpetually confused, doesn't know what to do. But how do you get cargo in and out? Well, you can see right here there's a little marker that says cargo drop. And basically, what I did was I got as far away from my base as I could. Then I pointed at my base and I did connect to base from the N debug menu. Sorry, from the building menu. Connect is not available right now, but you get the idea. And then I put a block right here, the concrete block right next to the Wi-Fi. You can see it right there. Then I put a Wi-Fi on the concrete block, and then I backed up 95 meters from the Wi-Fi and used my digging tool to put a little white spot. So when I sit on this little white spot, this little cargo drop, and I hit F4, I'm close enough to the Wi-Fi, and the Wi-Fi is a part of my base, that it gives me the ability to tap into the burial chamber's Wi-Fi and all the storage therein. So this has worked out pretty well. I've been pretty happy with it. I've been able to keep my ships away from base raids by putting them over at the trade station, and my base is sealed underground so that neither drones nor troops can get in. But ultimately, for this to be really effective, there's one more thing that you would really want from it. Let me get back to the trade station and back into base, and then we can talk about the one last thing that is the final weakness, or perhaps ultimate failure, of having a sealed underground base and using this strategy. Now, you remember I said that we would talk about this little harvester HV? That's actually what's going to happen next. Let me just get back into base. Alright, back home. So, what is sort of the ultimate failure or the final problem with having a sealed underground base? Well, ultimately you would want to be able to get off the planet. And in order to really enjoy being out in space, you need to not get attacked by every Tovera-class dreadnought that's out there. And so what you would really like is to have at least a neutral reputation with the Zirax. That's actually a problem, and it's a problem that this base cannot solve. I tried to solve that problem by using that Harvester HV to go into Zirax territory and harvest trees. Because the Zirax apparently hate all nature, they like it when you cut down trees and you get plus 10 rep per tree you cut down. Unfortunately, the Zirax also patrol their territory very heavily. Because of that, you will frequently find that your Harvester HV is being attacked by patrols, and there are a lot of trees that you simply cannot get to. You can see that I have managed to go from 8,500 rep, which is what the game starts you at. Yes, the game actually starts you in the hole. They start you at 8,500 of 12,000 rep. They start you unfriendly with the Zirax. I've managed to get myself up to almost 10,500, but I can tell, having gone to both of the Zirax territories that are on this planet, and cut down as many trees as I could with my Harvester HV and just taking any fire that the Zirax patrols are firing at me. I lost the Harvester bar many times. I lost the whole HV one time. I just don't think that there are enough trees left in these territories in order for me to bring my reputation to neutral with the Zirax. Now you may be saying, well, why is that a problem? I mean, your base is sealed. Well, remember what I said a second ago. Ultimately, the idea of having this sealed base where you're immune from base attacks is that you don't have to defend the base actively in any way, thus you avoid shooting down Zirax drones, you avoid killing Zirax troops, and you do not make your reputation with the Zirax any worse. And if you can get to a neutral reputation with the Zirax before you spawn your first starter CV, then you can fly through most of space without being super duper molested by the big ships. I'm pretty sure the laser drones and other little shits will still, try and shoot you, but those you can ignore and just let them hit your shield. But unfortunately, like I said, because it's so difficult to raise your rep with the Zirax, because the game does choose to start you in a reputation hole with the Zirax, and because they patrol their territory so aggressively, it's really hard to go and cut down enough trees in order to get yourself to neutral. The other problem with the strategy, as I said, is that in order to make this teleporter that you're going to need to essentially get to your front door, you do have to have a lot of neodymium. And, like I also said earlier, you also have to have an advanced constructor, which takes a lot of neodymium as well. Unless you luck out, like I did, and get a bunch of neodymium, or somehow manage to get up to the orbital trade station and buy it up there, a few neodymium ingots, because they're not going to have 1,000 up there. So, it's a neat strategy. I really enjoyed testing it out, but unfortunately, ultimately, I can't recommend it, because in order to make the teleporter, you're going to have to be level 15 anyway, and you're sort of into the mid-game at that point. And although it does allow you to passively avoid all Zirax base attacks, and thus never make your reputation with the Zirax any worse than the game already starts it out as, the truth is it's not really buying you anything over just having a normal base that you defend the normal way and get the satisfaction of shooting down drones and other stuff like that. So, yeah, interesting strategy. I'm glad I had a chance to test it out. It is a workable way to defend your base passively, but unfortunately, the downsides don't outweigh the upsides. And ultimately, I would have to tell people, as long as the game starts you out in a hole, starts you out with 8,500 out of 12,000 rep with the Zirax, unless you have a lot of Zirax territory that is just covered in dense forest on your starter planet, you're probably not going to be able to make it to neutral with the Zirax, and thus passive base defense and a base that doesn't worsen your reputation with the Zirax kind of ends up being worthless by the time you get to the mid-game. Anyway, that's what I wanted to tell you. I hope you've been enjoying Empyrean, and I hope that you are staying salty, my friends.